Hello everybody, I hope you doing great guys, and this is your standpoint one more time, and we are very excited. Today it's a special day. You're gonna see it in some few minutes. We'll be talking about education versus experience. Not even education, I don't know whether I call it
degree,
education.
like
Let's call it degree. Let's call it degrees
experience
versus experience.
Yeah.
So
like what is it actually? Recruiters, people out there, like CEOs of firms, what are they looking for in people mostly? Is it the degree or the experience that they have? And to discuss about that, we have two guests here. We have Gloria. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine.
You fine?
Yes.
Doing good?
Yes.
Welcome to the Standpoint.
Thank you very much.
And on my...
Yeah, very honored to have another guy who is actually here for the very first time.
Yeah. I'm gonna let him introduce himself because that's his first time. Gloria, she was there before.
Okay. I was about to do it, but it's okay.
No, let him do it himself.
Okay, so thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for this invitation that you have extended to me. And I'm so very excited to be here. My name is Alain Iranghunda. I'm the founder and the managing director of a company called Container Plus, which of course I created a few years ago in 2019, shortly after my training in the United States at the Northwestern University, where I did the business and entrepreneurship under the scholarship, the fellowship of the United States Embassy.
Yeah, so guys, as I have said it, today we're just going to be talking about experience versus degree. What is it people look for on the job market? And now I'm going to let Patrick actually extend.
We are just, always, witnessing, the preference of employers. When they are hiring, depending upon the specific job that they want to fit, or depending upon, the skills that they are looking for. Sometimes you find they are looking for degrees, and other times you find they are looking for experience. So I would like to know, because here we have actually because maybe their introductions were, for Alain was full. You heard that he is the rank of people who can actually hire, who can recruit people. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna hear his say on that. Also we have Madame Gloria, who's actually, also a CEO. Is it a CEO as well?
Yes.
He's actually a CEO of Casameza.
Yes.
It's also a company that helps people like Alan to get employees.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I think they will have a lot to share with us today.
It's like a HR.
Yes,
recruitment.
Recruitment is one of the things we do.
Yes. So we want you guys to know your opinion about it. Let's start by Alan, maybe.
I was expecting they say ladies first, but anyway, let me start.
Visitors
first.
Oh, visitors first. So when we're talking about education versus, let's say, degrees versus experience, which one gets, who gets the job? Is it the one who has experience, or is it the one who has higher education in terms of degrees? I think it depends on the field. It depends on the field. It depends on the recruiter. Who do I want? Is it a person who has experience? Is it a person that I will train myself so that they can get experience from my company and then I can use them? Because what we see around us is that we have a lot of young graduates. They just leave universities. Of course, they have all of these theories, but practically, they don't know how to connect the dots. So they needed some experience under their belt so that they can be able to deliver what the employer wants. So you as an employer, then it's up to you to decide. But sometimes you'll find this is really, I would say, kind of a dilemma on the part of the graduate, because they want him to have 5 years of experience, but he spent those 5 years in class. Mm-hmm. How does he get the experience without the job? And how does he get the job without experience? So it gets a little bit tricky there.
Yes, but then I have a question for you. You as a CEO, would you rather employ someone who already has an experience, who will just, start the job right there after you have just hired him or her? Or would you like someone who has a certificate whereby you will start by training him, the person, and everything?
It will depend. It will depend. Most of the time, what I have realized is that when you hire somebody with many years of experience, oftentimes you find they require much in terms of payment. So the paycheck has to be up because of course they earn that. But if you hire somebody with their experience, I'm not going to say that you're going to exploit them, but you're going to train them. And in this process of training them, then you're not going to spend as much. You see, in terms of, because you're just building, it's kind of like entry level, you're just building their career.
Yeah, sure. But when we look at the productivity.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You see, so for that one who's coming fresh from the university or from the college, it's not really going to produce more. Whereas that person who has got that enough experience, it'll be like producing enough for your company to grow. So that's why maybe Gloria has also something to say about it.
I think not necessarily. I think it all depends a lot on the kind of training you give, also the person themselves, whether they're driven, you know. You have people who work hard, you know, and that's just in their character and in their nature. So there may be a short learning curve, maybe a couple of months or so, but once they've understood what needs to be done, they will produce, you know. But just to comment on the topic, maybe I can talk a little bit about my previous life. You know, when we came to Burundi to set up the bank, it was a deliberate decision not to look for people with experience at the lower levels. Okay, and why was that? It's the same thing we did in Tanzania, the same thing we did in Rwanda. The reason was we wanted to create our own culture within the bank. And normally if you recruit people from other places, they come with some culture, you know, which may not be the one that you want, because we wanted to deliver a different type of service to the market to make us more competitive. So it was deliberate that we would look for fresh graduates. So in the interviews, we tried to look for some of the I wouldn't call them skills, but some of the behaviors that we wanted. You know, for example, like, has this person shown leadership in what they have done? And this leadership can be found in different things. You could have been a leader at school. You could have been a leader in the university, a student leader or something like that. Or you could be doing something with kids or something like that, you know. So you look for little things within their background that helps you know whether this is a person who's going to grow within your organization. So for us at that point, it was deliberate to look for people who do not have any experience. And then from there, we make the culture that we want to have. And also now in the current work that I'm doing, we have our youth program called Inspirations. And this is the question that we're trying to deal with. Okay, so when we work with the young people, we say, okay, first and foremost, you need to know what that job you're applying for wants. Okay, then you have to match yourself to what that job wants. So I really go through with them, you know, asking them those questions. Okay, your parents had a shop, for example. What were you doing there? Oh, I was selling, I was doing this, I was doing that. That is experience, you see? And you can work something like that into your CV and explain it in a way that matches yourself to a job. So I think, like he says, it depends. Of course, if you need a more senior position, technical skills, you will look for somebody who has them. But at entry level, not necessarily.
Yeah.
So which means you prefer to get somebody who has degrees, according to what I heard from you, Baf.
I think it's, again, as we talked about the field, it's the degree, I would call it like the impression you give the person who doesn't know you, right? But in the end, they will have to see that really what you have mentioned or the degree that you claim to have really goes with the skills that they're looking for. It's like I would call it, maybe, for example, if I come to you and say, look, I have a degree in, I don't know, in playing the guitar. I don't know if there's a degree in there.
Yes, there
and then, okay, you'll be like, okay, very good. Now, you are maybe auditioning. There are people auditioning people there, right? Okay, go there. And then you hear how I play the guitar, you'll be like, oh, no, out.
Yeah.
So the degree, it only helped me to get there. But it didn't help me to stay there.
Yeah.
But you have also mentioned something about the money, like those people with experiences, they require some some specific amount of money. Yeah?
Exactly.
But don't you think if it's about productivity, if you really want your company to grow, you will maybe consider that fact of hiring someone with experience rather than someone who's on an entry level?
That's very interesting. I think also it has to do with your company, like what's the budget you have for the payment, whatever. Because think about this: if it's just a startup, you don't want to hire somebody with a PhD. You don't want to hire somebody with a master's degree, because they'll be like, okay, I've just spent years and years in school. I'm not coming here to work for nothing.
Yeah.
Do you see that? So you are building your company. So you need those people who are not going to ask much, but who are willing to be trained and deliver more in the future. It's like you're growing up together with these people.
But I would think that if you are like a startup, a company that you have just started, maybe you will need those people with experience, because you need people to help you. You need people so that you can be known out there.
I think I'm going to go back to what Madame mentioned there about the culture. Those people who have experience, of course, we don't say that experience is bad. Sometimes they say that experience is not the best counselor, right? You may find they become so complacent. They want to do things the way they have been doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in business, that's not how it has to be. Especially for enterprises like an entrepreneur, you have to innovate every now and then. You don't want to rest on your laurels. Of course, you did these things in the past, but that's not how it's done today.
Yes. Yeah. I think if I can add to what he said, he says it depends on the level of development of the organization. Okay. If you're a very mature organization and stable organization and you know your numbers, you can probably want to afford, somebody who has that experience to help you go to the next level. But when you're a young company, there's that cycle of growth, and it starts with the vision of the person who is starting the business. It may not go exactly the way they're thinking, and you have to learn what are the business cycles and things like that. So you need also people you can grow with. Again, you need people who can also be a bit creative. So if you have somebody who's so used to the way he's doing, just like he said a few minutes ago, they might not want to be creative in new ways, So you need somebody probably who can think outside of the box.
Sometimes there are people who just have only experiences. So can't you hire them? They just have only experiences.
How did you get that experience in the first place?
Yeah,
if you didn't
sometimes you find they drop out your schools and that they go straight to the field, and you find they are really, really great workers. You find they are great employees. They master what they are doing, and you find even if you try to see their productivity is far better than the one that is given by another one who was maybe graduated, soon. So what do you think about? Can't you really give them the chance to work in your companies?
When you say something like that, somebody has experience, it means there's a particular skill he has developed. So therefore, a person like that can be considered for a job when it's a particular skill that's being looked for. All right? So if they are good, they have a track record and they're able to show that they've done that. And again, in my previous life, we would say, okay, maybe you don't have a degree, but let's agree that you get some kind of certification over time. So we would allow that, But if we had an entry-level position, here's somebody with a degree, here's somebody without a degree, it's as if, the degree helps you to look at, perhaps they've learned some things like critical thinking, whatever, or some stuff, in the university. So that helps you narrow down the people, because most of these entry-level jobs, you have so many applicants. When we started way back when, we had 8 jobs and 3,000 applicants. How do you narrow? You see? So the degree becomes a way of, But if the person doesn't have a degree but has shown real talent in something like maybe sales or something, you can definitely take that person on.
I would add on what you mentioned. That's true. Narrowing down. Because at the end of the day, what you need is just the person who's going to come and get the job. But then how do you get to find the person? I remember having this kind of debate with some of my students, and they said, okay, it's not even a degree, it's not even about experience, it's about the connections. It's about who knows that you know what you do.
Now that is our contacts. Those are the contacts.
The power of networking.
The power of networking.
Yeah.
Because even if you know, of course, like she mentioned, they have like 1,000 resumes here. How do we get to know who knows? I mean, everybody here, of course, he knows, but how do you get to know this is the one? This is the person I'm looking for. But if somebody tells you, so and so, I've worked with him for maybe 5 years, he's amazing.
Yes.
You don't even consider these like 1,000.
Yes.
That's the person who's gonna get the job.
Yes. Yes, that's correct, But again, in a growing economy like the one of Burundi, how many people are going to really know how many people? You see what I mean? Yeah. When it was a very small city with few graduates or whatever. Yes, you can, especially if it's on a technical side, as you say. With some little bit of experience. I know so and so. I've worked with them. They're good for the job. But when we're talking about entry level, how are you going to choose? You see? Yes, you can bring your relatives or somebody can. Normally, of course, as recruiters, you're given a whole list of names. Oh, these people are looking for jobs. But sometimes those people who are looking for jobs, when they come to work, they're not the best because they feel, I was brought by so-and-so. Edna is the one who brought me. And Edna knows Gloria. And therefore, I can behave the way I want because Edna and Gloria are friends, you see? So it comes back to that question of, how do you position yourself? How do you brand yourself? Because what you talked about is this concept that I call personal branding. Your personal brand, who is it? When you come to that interview, how do you showcase your personal brand to a person who doesn't know you such that they will choose you for that job? Okay? And it brings me back to that point of, digging back into your background. Who have you been? How do you show that you're a person of integrity? How do you demonstrate that? Because everybody wants to recruit somebody who has integrity. How do you demonstrate that you are hardworking? You have to look for those examples within yourself and what you've done. You may say, okay, fine, maybe I don't really have work experience, but when I was doing X or Y somewhere else, this is the way I handled it as a demonstration of who I am in the workplace.
There's this thing they usually say, theory and practical skills are totally different. I may be a brilliant student in class, but now if I go in the workplace, I don't know anything. Maybe I did communication in university, but I'm really not good in being a journalist. Is that this, do you think that counts? Do you think?
If I try to to back up the idea of my co-host, you find sometimes they are even engineers from the University of Burundi. You find there are some who are in the middle, having not bad marks, but who are not really,
average.
Yeah, the average. Let's call it the average. Yeah, the average, and others who are really, performing in a very, very amazing way. They are among the best and the best in theories. But you find those who are in the average, they were
they'll be better in their work, right?
Not even only better. They were just doing some internship, as what Madame was saying. They were just trying to look here and there, trying to exercise themselves, to perform in different companies, looking for internships and try to work on the experience level. And you find when they are going on the market, the job market, you find they are demonstrating, they are showcasing, they are what you call personality brand in a very wonderful way. So if you are somebody who would hire, are you going to hire the one who was really brilliant?
For me, if you come and you show me, okay, here I'm an A student. All right, it's good. You were doing good in school, right? But now let's see in real life. Okay? Yeah. And again, you have to test and see. That's why there are these tests that we give people, sometimes even training. So you can, under the probation, you can see if a person is gonna be retained or not.
For me, I would take that average student.
The average.
Why?
I would take the average student because this is a person who has demonstrated that they want to invest in themselves by going for these internships, by going, for me, that would be a clear choice. This is a person who wants to grow, who wants to develop, is showing leadership, is showing, what is it? Maybe the word is disappearing, but it's showing initiative. That's the word I want to use. It's showing an initiative around themselves. It's not about the number of marks that you get. To me, a degree is a degree. It doesn't matter whether you got an A or you just passed just barely. You know, you got it. You are given that you have learned that.
Yeah.
So that's good enough. So it doesn't matter whether it's this end or that end, you know. Some roles may require that person who is there. Say, for example, if you want to go into to be a lecturer at the university, a professor at the university, they'll probably look for those who have shown the technical understanding, you know, of the material. Yeah, but if I'm in the job market, that one who has shown that initiative around themselves is the one that I want.
Because what people need to sometimes to differentiate is what we call self-education and formal education. Because what counts a lot is the skill set. Because somebody may be really brilliant in the school, but at the end of the day, you find he's not really, you know, it's not result driven. Let me call it that way.
That's your personality now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's something I want to add, you know. Many of us, when we're going to the university, may choose something that we may not be actually passionate about, you know, and that's where this whole concept of maybe you didn't do that great, you know, some of us would be told by our parents, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, you need to be a teacher, and that may not be what you're passionate about, you know, and people take time to also find themselves. You might see somebody who's found themselves, they've gone to the university, I'm doing communications, I'm so excited about it, I'm in what I want to do. But there are those who are kind of a bit lost, and they come to find themselves maybe when they've left in their 30s, you know. I was a career banker for many years. Now I'm very interested in development work, you know, those kind of things.
That's the story of many people. The passion sometimes is buried under the, you know, these kinds of dreams of your parents, not your dreams, you know, because you want to achieve something out of life, but people who you value, who you respect, they want you to, I mean, first and foremost, to get more money, right? So, but you're like, okay, I want to follow my passion, right? So, and that's when you will see people not having a degree, but still being highly skilled into something. You mentioned, Patrick, something of self-education. There are so many people who have achieved a lot through books, whatever they read, and then if it's a training where they get maybe a certificate just to prove that they have those skills, and they just go after that. They do maybe a training of 6 months instead of doing like a degree of 4 years or, I don't know, 6 years, and then you find they're highly skilled, more skilled than those who spent years in school. Why? Because they're passionate. They're just giving everything they got to that thing that they love.
There's something that Alan tackled when he took the floor for the very first time. You know, you talked about like there are many enterprises that will, I mean, when they are like calling people for the applications, they are telling them you have to be having at least the experience of 5 years. What's your take on that?
I think sometimes they exaggerate. It's a matter of just narrowing down, as it's a matter of just easing their job of recruiting.
Yes.
Because they're like, we don't have time. Sometimes they don't even do that. They just give they have a program which is gonna do that. You apply online and automatically you are disqualified. You don't even get a chance to get there because they have key skills that they're looking for in your CV. So the 5-year experience, maybe, okay, I'll give an example of what happened to me, personal example. I went to, it was a fresh out of school, you know, high school. I was really doing good back then. I mean, laboratory. I went to do the test in the MSF Belgique. So I met people with 5 years, more degrees, more experience than I had. And they were looking for only one lab tech. So I didn't have even experience. I mean, like 2 months after, you just finished high school. Like, you don't even have any experience. The only experience I had was traveling around, going to Nairobi, going to Uganda, and then come back and then apply. That was the experience I had. So and then we did a test, as they do. Normally, I did a test and I smashed it. Of course, I was fresh out of school, you know. I smashed it. That's what shocked them. Then they called me and said, okay, come and do the interview. So the interview, the first question was, why don't you have any experience? I said, how could I have an experience? I was busy studying. But I told them I learned very, very just quick. If you just give me the chance, I will show you. And they were like, oh, okay. So these days, the recruiter was not a Burundian. It was somebody from Cameroon. And it was like, okay. So we went on to other questions. But again, he came back to the other one. Didn't you at least maybe go somewhere, you know, maybe visit your friend who's working in a certain laboratory, you know, close by? I said, I didn't have that time. But then in the end, they gave me the job. I was the only one who was taken because they saw that I was willing to learn.
Yes.
I told them, I'm very teachable. You just give me whatever, I'm going to do it.
When they talk about 5 years experience, especially at lower level jobs, that's really a way of sifting out people, you know. Any organization that does that, I think it's a wrong route to take. I would not recommend as a recruiter for an organization to put that kind of block, because you block the very people that you're looking for.
Yeah.
It's better to say, you know, 1 year experience or experience is an added advantage, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe they should put that if they were looking for something on a senior level. Like those 5 years experience and everything.
Yeah, sure. A short, quick last question. Like, aren't you afraid sometimes that those people having high degrees will be falling into sinecures?
Falling into?
Sinecures. I mean, the positions where they don't have that much work, but they gain a lot. I mean, in terms of income, you find you are paying them a lot.
Yeah, I feel like if you look at people, why are they pursuing higher and higher education? For the most part, it's not just to give back and, you know, because there are some skills that don't need higher and higher education, you know. I often give an example. If I need someone to paint my room, I'm not going to look for someone with a master's degree in painting. or someone with, no, I don't. If I need like an accountant, someone with a bachelor is enough. Like, all those skills like people are acquiring, it's good. Like recently, just going back to what you asked, I was following, so I think it was, I don't know if it happened in the parliament, the government, you know, some government, you know, employees, they now try to, you know, the government may hire you with a certain degree, but then after you're like, okay, let me acquire another one while you are still working for the government. And then you go back to the government and they're like, oh, you see, I have another degree, please, could you increase my salary? The government now is like, no. When we hired you, you had this degree. So we don't care about what you went to do. I mean, when did you study? We thought you were here busy working. So the thing is that, okay, it's good to have it. It's not bad, but know what is the target. What is it needed in the marketplace?
Yeah, sure.
My comment, I agree with him entirely. I'll give you a different perspective on it from my experience. There's a time banking was not necessarily, you did not necessarily need a degree to become a banker. Okay, you came from high school and you went straight into the bank and you grew like that. So at some point the bank had a lot of people who probably were not, they were just career bankers. So they were encouraging people. And myself, I went to do my master's, my MBA, from my own perspective, because I looked and I said, okay, banking is changing, okay? It's changing its face. We are no longer going to be that old bank that, you know, just looks down on people. We have to become more people-friendly. I went, I did my MBA, I did marketing and all those kind of things. So when now positions became available within the bank, I was able to stand out because I already had invested in myself, you know. So it can happen depending on the organization. Yeah.
And again, mentioning what you said earlier, it was like, are you having, or are you trying to attract, you know, people with your skills? Because you need to have those marketable skills at the end of the day. So if you want to grow, maybe sometimes you need to acquire new skills.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. That's great. And would you please?
I'm just gonna thank these people. We have learned a lot, and I hope all of you guys also have learned a lot from these people, from what's needed. But I guess from what you have said, I guess both are important, right?
Yes.
Both are important. You have to get your degree, but you also, if you have a chance, please get an experience. So I'm gonna thank you, Gloria, for accepting our invite.
Most welcome.
Yes. Alan, the same as you. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Patrick?
Yeah, it was incredibly great. So guys, stay tuned. This is your standpoint.
Bye-bye.